Which is the best plug-in hybrid luxury limousine? Is it the recently revised Audi A8 or the Mercedes S-Class? We're going to find out. Buy, sell,
Car wow.
Let's start this video by comparing the car's prices because there's a bit of a problem here. You see, the Audi A8 hybrid starts from £86,000, though you have to pay £89,000 if you want the long wheelbase version, which is what this car is. You can only get the Mercedes hybrid in long wheelbase, and you can only get it in the mid to top spec, so that bumps up the price. As a result, it starts from £111,000. It seems to me that the Audi has won this already. Not so fast though. There's a lot more to consider. Actually, if you're considering changing your car and you need to make sure that you're paying a fair price, click on the pop-out banner up there for the link in the description below to see the latest savings on CarWow. Alternatively, you can do that after this video. Just Google Help Me CarWow, and my team and I will help you choose the right car for you and get it for a fair price from one of our trusted dealers. Now let's compare these cars' design. So first, the S-Class. You know, it's Mercedes S-Class. It just looks elegant. What really surprises me about this car is the way that it hides its length. It really does. It doesn't look too huge. I always like the fact it's got that star on the bonnet. It just says luxury. Audi has recently tweaked the look of the A8 ever so slightly, so it's got some new bumpers at the front and the back, different shiny bits of trim. They've just altered the grille ever so slightly, and it's got new OLED headlights. It looks very similar to before, to tell you the truth. In fact, here's a before and after. See if you can spot the difference. I'll give you a few seconds. Yeah, so it's not a huge change, is it? Now, one thing to note is that I do think this car looks a little bit ungainly in long wheelbase compared to the Mercedes. It doesn't hide that length quite as well. One thing I do prefer about it though, compared to the Mercedes, is the rear end. It's got a very nice bottom, this car. As well as some minor visual changes, Audi's also tweaked the engine in this car. So it's a 3-litre V6 turbo mated to an electric motor, and combined the power output is 462 horsepower, which is 20 horsepower more than this car had before. It's mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox and 4-wheel drive. The Mercedes has a 3-litre straight-six turbo which puts out 367 horsepower, and it's mated to an electric motor with 150 horsepower. Now, you can't add those figures together to compare them to the Audi because it doesn't quite work like that with hybrids, and annoyingly Mercedes haven't given a combined figure for their car. Anyway, it drives the rear wheels only via a 9-speed automatic gearbox. But let's find out exactly how quick the two cars are. This S-Class is supposed to do 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, but we'll find out what my specialist timing gear actually says. So I'm going to brake boost it. Here we go. Oof, not bad. What's the time going to be? Oh, 0 to 60, 4.99 seconds. I was literally lost for words there, wasn't I? My voice failed. That is so much quicker than Mercedes claim, and it felt quick as well. Okay, this Audi's going to have to go some if it's going to beat that Mercedes. Though Audi does say it'll do 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, so maybe it can by the narrowest margin. Let's find out. Feels fast off the line. 4-wheel drive traction, you see. Here we go. Well, 0 to 60, 4.38 seconds. It's a win for the Audi. Another change that Audi made to its A8 hybrid as part of some recent revisions is to increase the battery size. They made it so much bigger. It used to be a 14.1 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now it's a colossal 14.4 kilowatt hours. What's the point of that? What they should have done is worked on changing the charging speed, because it can only charge at 7 kilowatts. That's it. That means you plug it into a normal wall box, it's going to take about 2 hours to go from 20% to 80% full. The Mercedes has a much bigger battery pack than the Audi. It's 28.6 kilowatt hour. Also, it can charge at 11 kilowatts on AC. And look at this. There's also DC charging. It can charge at 60 kilowatts if you can find a rapid charger. And that means that you can actually go to 80% full in just 20 minutes. Because of its bigger battery pack, it weighs in at 2.4 tons compared to 2.3 for the Audi. But how does that affect the braking performance? Let's find out. Okay, let's see how long it takes the Mercedes to stop from 60 miles an hour now. Whoa. That's a double foot on the pedal kind of stop. Yeah, stopped in 35 meters, which is okay for a big heavy car such as this. Let's see how long it takes this Audi to stop from 60 miles an hour. Wow, 32 meters. That is so good. One of the problems with plug-in hybrids is that the batteries eat into boot space because they're usually stored underneath the boot floor. So normally a Mercedes S-Class would have a boot capacity of 550 litres. However, the plug-in hybrid has a boot capacity of 325 litres, which is less than an A-Class. Same story though with the Audi. So normally the A8 long wheelbase version has a boot capacity of 505 litres, but this plug-in hybrid version, it only has 390 litres. Bigger than the Mercedes, because obviously it's got that smaller battery pack, so it doesn't eat into so much space, but still not the largest. Now let's compare these cars' interiors, and Audi has tweaked something inside this car. Can you tell what it is? You haven't spotted it, it's almost impossible to tell. It's the seats. Apparently it now has comfort seats, though before the seats were comfortable. Maybe it's just a different design. The rest of the design though is as before. Nice, clean and simple. You've got integrated controls there for the climate, then your main infotainment system here, then a clear digital driver's display in front of you. Quality is very, very good, and it's all very neat and tidy, very Germanic. Here at the back of the A8, it's really very comfy. There's loads of knee room, lots of headroom. You can recline your seats and do all that lovely stuff like that. You've got blinds, yeah. And as part of the changes, look, you've got some new infotainment screens, so they look like the old infotainment screens. They're optional, by the way. One thing that I think has changed, though, is this used to be pop out. There's this thing for the blinds and so on and so forth, but it doesn't seem to pop out anymore. Now I'm accidentally controlling everything. What's going on? Anyway, if you want to see the full changes to the A8, I've done an in-depth video review on this car with all luxury seats, and you can see how all the different functions work. Click on the pop-out button up there, or follow the link in the description to watch that video now. If not, let's go check out the Mercedes. Here in the front of the Mercedes, it's quite a simplistic design because most of the functions are done through this main infotainment screen. It's nice and big, though it looks a bit weird the way it's fixed. It doesn't blend into the rest of the dash quite as well as in the Audi. You've got a bigger digital driver's display than you do in the A8, and there's actually more functions to it and different views. Also, you can have a 3D effect, which you can't see on camera, but only with your eyes, so I don't know why I mentioned it. Also being the hybrid, this one has quite a lot of like hybrid-y functions on the infotainment screen that you can just look at to see your energy consumption and all that sort of thing. Here in the back of the S-Class, once again, loads of knee room, loads of headroom. I think there's a bit more headroom in the Mercedes, and I love the seats in this thing, so super comfy. Now you might be saying, well, wait a minute, Matt, it's not fair, this car's way more expensive than the Audi. Well, yeah, starting price. However, the list price of this car with all the kit fitted to it costs £113,000. That Audi, with all the options fitted to it, £118,000. So this particular car is less expensive actually, and it gets cool stuff such as this. Look, I can move the chair in front a bit forward, go on. Move forward, and then I can put out a nice little footrest for me. There we go. And I get my dirty feet all over this nice white leather. Oh well, doesn't matter really. Someone will clean it. Yeah, it's gorgeous, the back of this car. There's so much tech on it as well. Look, we've got a poppy outy little tablet here for controlling things such as the infotainment back here and all the aircon and all that kind of thing. Yeah, lovely jubbly. Now, if you want to see all the features on the new S-Class and all the crazy stuff it can do, click on the pop-out banner up there for the link in the description below to watch my full in-depth video review of the latest S-Class. Okay, let's see what these cars are like to drive. I'm going to start off with the S-Class, cruising along, 40 mile an hour in hybrid mode. Going to floor it to overtake. A bit of a hesitation as the gearbox thinks about what to do, and then we're off, and yeah, this is quick. And when you're just cruising along, woo, this car is comfy and relaxing. It's quiet, you just like float above the road surface. It is beautiful. You sit back in the chairs, they just hold you nicely and softly, like they love you. And if I want, I can go to electric only mode and it will drive it up to 87 miles an hour in electric. You won't go so far if you're doing that, you know, but the claim range on electric is like 65 miles. In fact, I've driven this car. Why is the assistant just piped up? That's what that was. Shut up, go away, cancel. That's the only thing that spoils the whole experience, this stupid assistant. Anyway, what I was saying is that you're not going to get that if you're going quickly, but I had this very car for a week and I just drove it around on an electric power load. I do have a charging point at my house, so I just plugged it in, but I never once engaged the petrol engine. The silence and the smooth acceleration just suits this kind of car. Anyway, I'm going to go into hybrid again. Yeah, it's a bit keener to kick the engine in hybrid mode. You don't have that false stop to the accelerator. Okay, I'm going to try this S-Class on a twisty road. So the first thing you need to know is that the hybrid version is about 300 kilos heavier than the equivalent 3 litre straight six petrol. Weighs in at 2.4 tons, so it's pretty heavy. I've got it in comfort mode and it deals with bumps so well. It goes around corners fine. I'm going to put it in sports mode, which is the mode that no S-Class should ever be in unless it's the AMG. So now the engine is keener to kick in. I've got sharper throttle response. The steering feels a bit heavier and I'm feeling the bumps a little bit more because the suspension has become firmer, but not a lot more. I mean, it's still more comfortable than most cars ever made. But it does grip, goes around the corners pretty confidently, considering the weight of the car and the style of the car. It just does everything well. Okay, so now we come to a town section. There is something just really peaceful about travelling around in one of these things. Things might get a little bit more stressful in a moment because I've got a van behind me and I've got to do the whole U-turn test. Okay, I'm going to do a U-turn here, see if I can pull it off. The turning circle on this is like 12.5 metres. Oh look, it's chaos. Ah, and there's a big truck now. Ah. Yeah, it's the trouble with a long vehicle such as this. That white van man wasn't happy. Oh, at least the steering's nice and light. Sorry everybody, I just changed my mind of where I wanted to go. I'm not going to change my mind about this car though, it's beautiful to drive. However, it's not completely perfect. There are two things that are not quite so good. One is the brake pedal feels a bit overly long. I know that allows you to really just slow smoothly, but if you have another car that you drive, you can find that this one, you're not quite braking as much as you should be, and then you're up on the rear bumper of the car in front, you're like, oh God, I've got to suddenly slam on the brakes. And that's silly because the brakes are actually quite powerful. And then the other thing is that when you are braking, sometimes the gearbox can just like clunk for the last stage as it goes from second to first. And other than that, it's completely smooth, the gearbox, but that is just a little bit odd. Those are my only complaints though. That's it. Okay, now the Audi. So first things first, 40 miles an hour. See how the hybrid system responds when I floor it. Whoa. More of a jolt than in the S-Class, but it seemed to go about its business a little bit quicker, getting you away. Talking fractions, but yeah, you can spot it. Another thing that you can spot, which is still just a degree of fractions, the comfort. Yeah, this floats down the road, but it doesn't have quite the floatiness of the Mercedes. It also seems just a touch maybe noisier. Actually, that's the wrong way of saying it. It's a touch less quiet because it still is supremely quiet in here. Now what I'm going to do is put this car into EV only mode, because when you're running it in hybrid, it seems just a bit more keen to engage the petrol engine. Just like the S-Class, you can go over 80 miles an hour on electric power load, and it does a full stop to the throttle pedal. However, the travel isn't quite so long in the pedal, so it doesn't feel as natural as in the S-Class. And of course, you cannot go as far on electric power load in this A8 than you can the S-Class. The maximum claimed range of electric power on this is supposed to be around 37 miles, so almost half that of the Mercedes. Okay, now I've got the A8 on a twisty country road, and I've put it into dynamic, so that's stiffened up the suspension, and just like with the S-Class, it does feel firmer, but it's still very, very comfortable. In terms of how this goes around the corners, I do think it's got a slightly sportier edge than the Mercedes. Is it necessarily better or quicker? I'm not sure that it is. I don't think it grips particularly better. I don't think the steering's particularly sharper. Maybe it feels just a bit more planted and less softly sprung, but not much in it at all. And really, you don't want to hoon one of these things about anyhow, because that's not what they're designed to do. You'll get your blooming passengers thinking, wait a minute, I ordered a limousine. I don't want to be blooming thrown about all over the place. Let's get back into comfort mode. Switching off the petrol motor, and you don't notice it at all. It's so smooth, the transition in this. As with the Mercedes, the A8 suspension is brilliant at dealing with potholes and bumps in town. You hardly feel them. Steering's nice and light as well. The visibility's good. Somehow it feels like a slightly smaller car. I don't know why that is. It just does. The way it wraps around you, I suppose. The bonnet doesn't seem so long. Maybe it's because you haven't got that star on the end of the bonnet, which actually tells you how far away the nose of the car is. You don't notice it so much on the Audi. Last thing to do is to check out the turning circle. So it's pretty much identical to the Mercedes. You can get rear wheel steering on the A8 in the UK on the top of the range of Vorsprung model, which will shorten that. That actually seemed easier than the Mercedes, and I did it in a 1. I'll tell you what, if you get this car with the rear wheel steering, it'll feel very manoeuvrable. But I'll tell you what's not better than the S-Class, the pickup of the electric motor just doesn't feel as smooth or quite as strong. It's down a horsepower ever so slightly, and you can sort of tell that. Another thing you feel is that ultimately when you're driving it, this car doesn't feel quite as special and quite as relaxing as the Mercedes. Audi may have updated it, but they haven't quite gone far enough. So then, what's my final verdict? Well, the Audi A8 is a brilliant luxury limousine, though the Mercedes S-Class is an ever so slightly better luxury limousine. And because it has a bigger battery, it's a noticeably better hybrid than the Audi A8. And that's why the Mercedes wins this test. Anyway, do you agree with my verdict? Let me know by voting in the pinned comment. Also, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Click on those windows there for some more videos, and on that box there to see how much your car is really worth. It's completely free. Go try it out.